Stroll along the coast and explore the largest mountain fortress in Korea. As well as all this, there are so many tourist attractions, beautiful exhibitions, vibrant culture, convenient facilities, and delicious foods unique to Busan. With all the beauty and charm of the amazing city of Busan, you'll find yourself right at home in this ever-changing tourism paradise. So stay with us a while. Busan, your #1 tourist destination. Your home, away from home. This campaign is brought to you by BEFM, Busan 영어방송.
Want to be a friend of BFM 부산영어방송? You can chat with BFM through our Kakao Talk service. You can share your messages and photos through Kakao Talk, and you can easily become BFM's Kakao friend by searching BFM through the Find a Friend option. Come share and chat with us at BFM anytime, anywhere for free. Don't forget to add BFM 부산영어방송 to your Kakao friends list.
지금 방송 광고라는 부메랑을 던져보세요. 소비자를 향해 정확히 날아가는 광고, 힘차게 돌아가는 경제. 부메랑처럼 다시 기업의 이익으로 되돌아오니까요. 방송 광고, 경제에 큰 힘이 됩니다. 부산 방송광고발전협의회.
The time is now 7 o'clock.
Decision Day, D-Day, is here. It is voting day here in Korea. It was a mad scramble yesterday as the ruling opposition and minor parties all made last-ditch appeals for support the eve of the nationwide local elections. Up for grabs today are 16 mayoral and gubernatorial seats plus 227 heads of local governments and also about 4,000 members of local councils. In addition to that, there are 14 National Assembly seats that are on the line in parliamentary by-elections. The vote today also signifies public sentiment toward President Lee Jae-myung's first year in office. So, join us for full coverage of the elections. We are live today. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan, and this is the local election special on Wednesday, June 3rd on BEFM 부산영어방송. Good morning, Wavers. I hope you're all doing well on this Wednesday. It's hump day, but more importantly, it is D-Day. It's election day for local elections across the country. And as I said in the opening, there are other by-elections going on as well. So there was a question that came in. Hi, Kat. Who did you vote for? Well, I can say this with a straight face. So I technically can't yet because I'm not a permanent resident yet here of Korea. So I don't have voting rights. Not yet. So anyhow, even if I did vote, I can't tell you who I voted for. That would just not be good, right? So yeah, politically neutral on our show. But we do want to tell you that we are live today. We're going to be covering all of the elections, what's going on across the country as much as we can. So I hope you can enjoy the next 2 hours with us. By the way, for a text topic, here we go. What's on your mind as you go vote? Or maybe you did already. Maybe you participated in early voting. Record numbers this year, right? So send us your voting photos. However, caveat, not from inside the polling station or booth, because you know that is a big no-no. We don't do that. 자, 나는 어떤 마음으로 투표하러 간다. 아니면 다녀오셨을 수도 있잖아요. So, 투표 인증샷 보내주세요. But you got to send them into Kakao Talk because obviously on our live stream, we can't accept your messages or the photos that way, right? So send in your messages regardless to BFM's live stream, live chat on YouTube. Go to the YouTube platform and type in BEFM, 부산영어방송. And then once you do, you'll find our channel, subscribe, log in, chat with other waivers. From your phone, pound 9050, shop 9050. That's going to cost you 101. You can also reach me for free, like I said, through Kakao Talk, and send in your 인증샷 that way. A screen grab of photos of you voting. However, outside the polling station, right? We don't want anybody to do it inside because, yes, you might get in trouble. All right, you can tune in to Morning Wave in Busan through the radio, 90.5 or 103.3 FM. That's if you're in the Busan area. We're streaming live on YouTube right now. Come check us out. And we're available on the BEFM app and also the Papang app. So, today, it is a special day. We have Jian for now in Busan. We have Claire coming in for top stories. Of course, this is the election edition. And then we have Tegan for Voices of Busan to talk about what foreign national residents are looking for in these local elections. And then we also have special election reports from the scene. We have Haley, who's going to be obviously here in Busan. We also have Oh Soo-young, who's going to be joining us from Seoul, and then Kim So-yeon in Gwangju. So for now, we're going to turn to Jian for now in Busan. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. So it is election day. Big day here
Yes.
in Korea. But specifically, let's talk about Busan. What's happening in Busan in terms of voting?
A total of 914 polling stations and 16 counting centers are in operation from 6 a.m. with more than 13,000 polling staff and 6,600 counting personnel deployed throughout the city. Voters can check their designated polling station through their voting information notice or online polling station search service.
Yes. How many people are eligible to vote in Busan this year?
This year, Busan has about 2.86 million eligible voters, including Korean citizens, overseas Koreans, and more than 3,000 foreign residents who are qualified to vote.
Right. I hear there are special measures for voters with mobility challenges, correct?
Yes, nearly all polling stations are located on the first floor or in buildings with elevators, and accessible voting equipment will be available at every site. Busan City will also provide free bus transportation services, helping them travel between their homes and polling stations.
And what happens after voting ends?
Once voting closes, ballot boxes will be sealed and transported to counting centers under police escort, where vote counting will begin. Election results will be released in real time through the National Election Commission website, allowing the public to follow the counting process throughout the evening.
Yes. Any final reminders for voters today?
Because multiple elections are being held at the same time, voters will receive several different ballot papers, so please take your time when voting. Voting continues until 6 p.m. today, so don't forget to bring a valid photo ID and make sure to arrive before the polls close.
All right. Thank you for letting us know what's happening in the local elections. Next up, with the rainy season, 장마철 approaching, Busan is stepping up efforts to prevent flooding. So what's happening on this front?
Busan City is encouraging residents to apply for flood prevention barriers, known as water blocking panels, as part of a support project being carried out with the city's district and county governments. The city says repeated localized downpours and sudden flooding linked to climate change have increased the need for preventive measures, especially in low-lying residential and commercial areas.
That's right. So how's the city supporting the installation of these barriers?
Well, earlier this year, Busan provided a total of 200 million won to its district and county governments to help fund the program. Local governments have also secured additional budgets of their own and are currently accepting applications and conducting site inspections in flood-prone areas.
Yes, and why is the city emphasizing applications right now?
Well, officials describe this period before the monsoon season begins in earnest as the last golden opportunity to prevent the flood. The city is increasing outreach efforts and encouraging residents in areas vulnerable to flooding to apply as soon as possible so installations can be completed before heavy rains arrive.
Yes, because prevention is key, as we all know. What exactly do these flood barriers do, though?
The barriers are designed to block rainwater from entering buildings during heavy rainfall, helping protect homes, shops, and underground parking facilities from flooding. They can be installed and removed relatively easily and have become increasingly popular because of their effectiveness.
I see. So who can apply for this program?
The support is available for houses, commercial buildings, and apartment complexes as well, located in areas at risk of flooding. Not only property owners, but also building managers and tenants are also eligible to apply.
Oh, that's good to know. How much financial support is available?
The city can cover up to 90% of installation cost. Specific support levels and self-payment requirements may vary by district, so residents are advised to contact their local government's safety or disaster management office for detailed information.
This is so important, so let's get the word out. And please, if you are eligible, why not apply for this?
Yes.
All right. Next up, BTS is celebrating another major milestone this month. So tell us more about this.
BTS will hold its annual BTS Festa to mark the 13th anniversary of its debut. The festival takes place over roughly 2 weeks, surrounding June 13th, which is BTS debut date. And this year's celebration is drawing even more attention with the upcoming concerts here in Busan.
That's right. So our city is also preparing special events for visiting fans. So what are they?
Busan City and the Busan Tourism Organization will operate a welcome center at the Busan Eurasia platform from this Friday, June 5th through June 21st. The venue will serve as both a hospitality space and an interactive tourism hub for fans visiting the city.
So what can visitors experience there?
The Welcome Center will offer tourism information and luggage storage and delivery services linked to local travel programs. Visitors can also enjoy a music experience zone, a K-beauty zone, photo booths, Busan tourism activities, and an AI experience booth.
Will there be events outside the Welcome Center as well?
Yes, a 5-meter tall K-pop listener Boogie sculpture will welcome visitors at Busan Station, while a special Busan pop-up store will operate to promote local products and city initiatives. Traditional and cultural performances are also planned, including street performances connected to the Busan International Dance Festival and creative and tangible heritage performances.
I see. Well, thank you for all the local news on Election Day. We'll check in with you tomorrow. Thank you, Jian.
Thank you.
I'll be back with your traffic and weather. It's time for your traffic report. However, the roads seem fairly open with no major congestion on account of this being a day off for Election Day. Currently, it's 21 degrees Celsius here in Busan under sunny skies. The daytime high will go up to 26. Across the nation, it's going to be hot as you head out to vote elsewhere in the country, with most areas seeing daytime highs going up near 30 degrees today. Chances of showers in some inland areas of Gangwon, Jeolla, and Gyeongsang. This was your traffic and weather. It's time for the morning brief. Polls open for June 3rd local elections. Polls are open across 14,000 locations nationwide for the local elections, as rival parties made a final push yesterday to mobilize support for an election widely seen as a test of public sentiment toward President Lee Jae-myung's first year in office. launched joint investigation into Hanwha Aerospace explosion. Tegan Metropolitan Police Agency, the Fire Service, the National Forensic Service, the Labor Ministry, and the Korea Occupational Safety and Health Agency launched a joint investigation into Hanwha Aerospace's Tegan factory following a deadly explosion that left 5 people dead. Seoul shares again end at record high on Samsung's performance. South Korean stocks closed at a fresh high of above the landmark 8,800 point level yesterday, led by Samsung Electronics, which entered the global top 10 in terms of market capitalization. Consumer prices rise 3.1% in May on soaring fuel prices. South Korea's consumer prices rose more than 3% in May from a year earlier, amid global energy price volatility following the Middle East war, marking the fastest growth in 26 months, according to the Ministry of Data and Statistics yesterday. Israel strikes Lebanon despite Trump's ceasefire efforts. Israel has launched dozens of strikes across southern Lebanon despite U.S. President Donald Trump's announcement of an agreement between Israel and Lebanese militant group Hezbollah to stop fighting. This was the morning brief. You're now listening to our number one of Morning Wave in Busan. It's time for top stories. So today is a big day because we have the local elections, and Haley, she's actually going to be out in the field soon. So we have a special guest filling in for her. We have Claire. Good morning, Claire.
Good morning.
Yes, yes. So we're going to jump right in because this is such an important day. So what are we going to begin with? What are we talking about today?
So first things first, if you haven't voted yet, you still have time. The polling stations open their doors at 6 a.m. sharp and will close at 6 p.m. tonight. This isn't just a random midweek day off. It's a crucial day where we choose the leaders who will directly manage our city and our local neighborhood for the next 4 years, starting
right.
July 1st.
Such a huge event. So I've seen a lot of young people looking very energized lately. So what are the rules regarding first-time voters for this specific election?
Well, it's wonderful to see the youth getting involved. Thanks to the election law revision, 18 years old have the full power to vote. To break it down into an exact date, if you were born on or before June 4th, 2008, you're legally eligible to vote today, and you can even run for office.
Okay, wait. So the election date itself today is June 3rd.
Yes.
But you're saying that the age cutoff is June 4th, 2008. So, okay, I'm not a math whiz. How does that work?
So it definitely trips a lot of people up.
Yes.
It sounds like a paradox.
Okay.
But it all comes down to a specific quirk in Korean civil law. Under our legal system, your legal age actually changes at the very first second of the day before your actual birthday. So if your birthday is tomorrow, June 4th, you technically turn 18 years old right as today.
Interesting. So this might be new information for many people out there, right?
Yes.
So that is a highly specific legal detail, but so important for those born on that exact date. So now we're going to talk about the practical logistics of when people arrive at their respective polling places. What do people need to know to show the election officials at the door?
Obviously, you must bring a valid government-issued photo ID, physical cards like your resident registration card, driver's license, or passport are the gold standard. But since we live in such a tech-savvy country, mobile IDs, including those via the Pass app, Samsung Wallet, or major banking apps are completely valid as well.
Okay, so once again, digital IDs, so convenient, but I imagine there's a strict rule about how we present them.
Yes, a huge warning here for everyone. You cannot just show a screenshot or a photo of your ID.
Okay.
The election officials will strictly reject those. You must open the actual app right in front of them and show the live running screen. They need to see the dynamic security features to verify it's the real deal.
I see. So once again, no screen grabs or screenshots. All right, now we're going to get to the heart of the matter, the candidates. So there are colorful banners hanging on every corner of every street. So who are the heavyweights we should be watching across the country today?
So it's a massive day for democracy nationwide. We're electing over 4,200 officials.
Yes.
If you look at the major metropolitan races, it's a real clash of the titans. So for Seoul, we have Chung Won-ho from the Democratic Party, DP, facing off against the incumbent Oh Se-hun from the People Power Party, PPP. And for Gyeonggi, a historic race with Chu Mi-ae from the DP and Yang Hyang-ja from the PPP. So it's the first time that we've seen a head-to-head matchup between two women for a metropolitan governor position.
Yes.
And for Daegu, the heart of conservatism is watching closely as Kim Bu-kyum for the DP challenges Chu Kyung-ho for the PPP. And for Incheon, it's Park Chan-dae for the DP versus the incumbent Yoo Jung-bok for the PPP.
Yes, so those are some high-stake races, of course. But I know our listeners are especially tuned into what's happening right here in our own backyard. What are the vibes in Busan right now?
Oh, the heat in Busan is on another level.
Yes.
For the Busan City Mayor, Chun Jae-soo from the DP is challenging the incumbent Park Kyung-jun from the PPP, who is aiming for another term to continue his global city vision. There's also Chung Lee-han from the Reform Party in the mix.
Yes, so I've heard that Busan, the Bukgu-kap, that district is like the hotspot of this entire election cycle. So remind our listeners, why is everybody talking about this race?
Because it's the national epicenter of attention. The Bukgu-kap legislative by-election is a fierce three-way battle. You've got Ha Jong-woo from the DP aiming to turn the district into an AI hub, Park Min-sik from the PPP promising a Bukgu renaissance with his experience as a former minister.
Yes.
And then the big variable, Han Dong-hun, the former party leader running a very high-profile independent campaign. Analysts say whatever happens in Bukgu-kap will signal the political future for all of Busan.
Hence, many eyes will be on this particular race.
Yes.
Well, now we're going to talk about the actual experience inside the polling booth. So I've heard voters, they get handed a literal stack of colorful papers. I mean, is that true?
Oh, yes, no exaggeration.
Yes.
Most voters get 7 different ballots at once. But to prevent confusion today, it's split into 2 rounds.
Okay.
First, you get 3 ballots for the big executive roles like the mayor and education superintendent or governor. After you drop those in the box, you move to the next desk for the remaining 4 ballots for local councils.
I see. So breaking it up into 2 rounds, it does take the pressure off because if you had all 7 at once, it might be confusing. But what if you're in that, once again, that hotspot district?
So if you're in Bukgu-kap, Busan, you get an extra 8th ballot for the National Assembly by-election. On the flip side, places like Sejong or Jeju only get 4 in total. Also, this 2-round system is only for today. Early voters got them all at once last week.
I see. And so I want to talk about this particular ballot, the education superintendent or governor. It does depend on your region, what they call that position. The ballot looks quite unique because there are no party colors nor numbers at all, right?
Sharp observation. Education must remain strictly politically neutral. There are no party names and no number 1 or number 2. It just lists the names.
I see. So you can't just vote for your usual party, I
Yes.
guess, along party lines, you actually have to know the candidate.
Exactly. They even use a cyclical rotation system, meaning the name order changes depending on your neighborhood to prevent anyone from getting an unfair advantage at the top of the list. It's the ultimate homework election. You've got to know the names before you step inside.
Yes, once again, especially for this one, you got to know your candidates. All right, so now we are going to turn to information to make sure that all of our waivers stay completely safe and legally compliant. So, what are the absolute non-negotiable rules that we must follow once we're inside the polling station?
So this is the most critical part of our survival guide.
Okay.
Beware of the selfie trap. We all love to post a proof shot on social media,
Right.
but listen carefully. Taking a photograph inside the voting booth or taking a picture of your actual ballot paper is a severe crime. It completely violates the constitutional principle of a secret ballot. If you get caught snapping a photo of your ballot, you could face up to 2 years in prison or a massive fine of up to 4 million won. So please keep your phones tucked away.
That's right. So you might think that's pretty severe, like 2 years in prison for a single social media photo. But people still want to show that they proudly participated in democracy. So, and by the way, this is like our text topic. So what's the legal way to show, to take a proof shot or 인증샷?
So you just have to take the photo strictly outside the building.
Okay.
Feel free to strike a pose right in front of the official polling station sign or the entrance gates. And here's some good news. The law have been relaxed, so you can freely make a V sign, so a thumbs up, or use any hand gestures you like of your photo as long as you're outside the polling venue. Outside.
Outside once again. Outside. Okay. What about the actual marking of the ballot? Any traps we need to know about?
Oh, yes. Always use the official red ink stamp provided inside the booth. Do not bring your own pen or pencil. Using anything else will instantly turn your ballot into an invalid vote. Also, make sure your stamp lands perfectly inside the box of a single candidate. If your stamp accidentally crosses the line and touches 2 different candidates, it will be thrown out during the counting process.
Once again, that is going to be counted as invalid. So make sure
Inside the box.
you stamp very carefully. All right, before we let you go, democracy is taking place in some very unconventional locations today, right?
Oh, yes. Because the National Election Commission needs over 14,000 stations, they often rent private businesses. In Gwangmyeong, a famous barbecue restaurant turns into annex into a polling station. Citizens can vote and then head straight for grilled ribs.
Interesting. A barbecue restaurant. Okay. Well, what about here in Busan? Any interesting locations?
So we have a wrestling gym in Namcheon-dong. Elsewhere, people are voting in wedding halls, car dealerships, and even taekwondo studios. It's a great reminder that democracy happens right in the middle of our everyday lives.
Yes. I mean, I love that idea, though, turning every venue possible, if we need it, into a polling station. So, once the polls close at 6 p.m., what is a timeline for the big count? I mean, basically, when do we get the results?
So counting starts around 6:20 p.m. Initial results should drop by 7:30 p.m.
Okay.
Most winners will be clear by midnight. But for those nail-biters like Busan Bukgugap, we might be waiting until 3 or 4 a.m. tomorrow for the final word.
Right. So any which way you cut it, it is going to be an action-packed day into night. And so, of course, we will bring the results as soon as they come in tomorrow. In the meantime, can you give us like a step-by-step summary? Because
course.
for those of our waivers who are tuning in like right now in the middle of our discussion, so if you could give us some steps to think about.
Yes, it's actually quite simple if you follow these 7 steps as illustrated in the official guide from the National Election Commission. So step 1, identification and signing. So first,
Yes.
Present your ID, such as resident registration card, driver's license, or passport, to the officials and sign the registry. And step 2, receive first 3 ballots. In the first round, you will receive 3 ballots, including one for the Metropolitan Mayor, one for the Education Superintendent, and one for the district head.
Okay.
And step 3, mark your ballots. Head into the private voting booth and use the official stamp to mark your choices.
Yes.
And step 4, fold and cast. Make sure to fold the 3 ballots in half before dropping them into the first ballot box to keep your vote private.
Okay.
Step 5, receive remaining 4 ballots. Move to the next desk to receive your final 4 ballots for the local regional councils, including proportional representatives.
Yes.
And step 6, mark your remaining ballots. Go back into the booth to mark these final 4 papers. And lastly, step 7, fold again and final cast. Fold these final ballots in half as well. Drop them in the second ballot box, and you're officially done.
All right. And that folding in half, that is such a helpful tip.
Before you put it in the box. Yes.
For privacy. Well, thank you so much for coming in today. We really appreciate it, Claire, to help our Busan citizens and waivers to get ready to head to the polls.
My pleasure. And to everyone listening, if you haven't voted yet, remember you must go to your designated station today. Bring your ID, like your resident registration card or driver's license, and let's make our voices heard before 6 p.m.
That's right. 6 p.m. is the deadline. Well, thank you so much, Claire, once again. Take care.
Take care. Bye.
All right. We are ready for a song break right now. We're going to take a breather. This is 어떤가요? By 최유리.
Good morning. Good morning.
굿모닝입니다.
Good morning.
좋은 아침입니다.
Morning wave in Busan.
Morning wave in Busan.
Morning wave in Busan.
Major news, local buzz, and expert takes. It's all here on Morning Wave in Busan. Brighten up your morning commute with Morning Wave in Busan.
Morning wave in Busan. Welcome back, everybody. You are listening to Morning Wave in Busan. We are live today on Election Day. And as I said from the get-go, we have lots of special corners for you because it's such an important day. We need to get the vote out. So joining me today for Voices of Busan on Election Day, we have Tegan in the house. Hello.
Hi, great to be here. Good to see you.
I know, and it's like, I'm so glad you're here because
Yes.
I like to call you roving reporter just because you're just always on the move.
Right.
Like literally.
Yes. So today I headed out to the streets and I talked to a variety of different foreigners and got their input on what they think about the election.
Yes.
And the election's really interesting. So I'm going to be bringing you today some information related to foreign voters.
Yes, this is an important segment of our population here in Korea. So we do want to touch upon that. So first of all, my first question.
Yes.
I have many questions for you.
Please.
So how many foreign nationals are actually eligible to vote today?
All right, this is actually very surprising. I had no idea. So actually, the number of nationals to vote today on June 3rd actually has rose to an all-time high of 150,000 people.
Wow, really?
Yes.
I don't know many around me who are eligible to vote, but...
Right.
Okay.
So under the Public Election Act, foreign nationals aged 18 or older who have held an F5 permanent residency visa for at least 3 years are eligible to vote in local elections. So that's for local governments and local council members. They are not, however, allowed to vote in presidential and parliamentary elections.
That's an important distinction. So once again, for the local elections, F5, residency of 3 years after you get the F5 is what you're saying, right?
Right. And so actually foreign voters first gained this right to vote in the local election starting in 2006.
Oh.
So 20 years ago.
Okay.
At that time, there were only 6,726 eligible foreign voters.
Wow.
But the number has rapidly increased. And in 2018, the number surpassed 100,000 for the first time, reaching 106,205.
Ooh.
But this year, 20 years after that law has been enabled, the figure stands at 22.5 times the level. So now we have 150,000 eligible foreign voters.
Yes. So if it's not too personal, may I ask, are you eligible to vote?
I'm close.
You're close. You are one step closer than I am.
I can vote next year. I've had my F5 visa for 2.5 years.
Wow.
So next year I'll be able to vote in this election.
Okay. Because this is an issue that many foreign nationals don't know about. Like there are requirements where you have to meet those requirements to apply for an F5. I didn't even know there was an F5 until recently.
Yeah, actually F5 is great. So to get your 영주권 or permanent residency visa, there's a lot of different things you have to do, and you have to pass a program called the KIP program, which teaches you a lot about Korea history, Korea government, Korea laws. So I actually am really excited for when I do get to vote next year.
Oh, so next year we're gonna have to have you on.
Yes.
All right. So I hear that once again you have gone out to Busan and spoken to some foreign nationals, right?
Right. So let's take a listen as I talk to someone and get their opinion on voting.
Hi, what's your name?
My name is Victoria.
All right, Victoria, I'm going to ask you some questions about today's voting day. So June 3rd is election day. If you could vote in Busan, what kind of mayor would you want the future mayor of Busan to be? What kind of person would you want?
I would want the mayor to be somebody who's really concerned about all people. I know that the population of Busan, the average age is quite high. So I would really want to make sure that the mayor is somebody who's concerned about the well-being of the older generation, but also the younger generation. I think that it's really important to focus on children and opportunities for children, and so that they can have a good childhood and feel supported in their life and their activities, not only by their family, but by the community around them.
Perfect. And just why don't you tell us too, how long have you lived in Busan?
I have lived in Busan for about 13 years.
Wonderful. Well, I hope that our future mayor can do all those things that you said, and thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thanks.
So that was Victoria once again, right?
Yeah, that was Victoria. She's actually American, but has lived here 13 years.
Wow.
Right. So she wanted a mayor that will consider citizens of all ages, because Busan does have a large senior population.
True.
But, Busan does have people of all ages. So definitely making programs for the youth, making programs for people all
In
ages.
between.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think about that?
I love that idea. The fact that she wants a mayor that will focus on not just one specific age demographic,
Right.
but go across the board, because we're like in between.
Yeah, we're in
the
between.
youth
Yeah.
And of course, the elderly population as well.
Yes.
So don't leave anybody behind. I like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
so think of everyone. And I talked to another citizen and asked her the same question.
Okay.
So let's hear what she had to say. All right. Hi, what's your name?
Hi, I'm Shagun.
And where are you from?
I'm from India.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a question about Busan. First of all, voting day is this week. And so I want to know, what kind of mayor would you want for the mayor of Busan?
I don't know. I keep getting actually messages, the mayors, and they're being elected, and but I don't know. I think maybe someone with a good personality who is not biased and who is not like maybe into taking ransoms and all, but a quite honest person. I guess.
Honest person.
So that was Shagun, if I said her name correctly, right?
Yes.
And so maybe ransom was it, maybe she meant something like a bribe.
Yeah, maybe she means someone who's honest, doesn't accept bribe and things like that.
Yes.
So she's actually from India. So she has a very different, experiences with foreign, people that are foreign nationals, I guess, and things. So I think that what she said is very important. We need someone who's very transparent, very clear, honest, and obviously someone who is going to be using our taxpayer money for the right reasons.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
And things that you said right now, transparency and, to be able to parlay the taxpayer money into programs that we can benefit from, but to, once again, be transparent with where the taxpayer money is going. That's really important.
Yes. So I think with the two of them, they both tapped in. We talked to Victoria and we talked to Shagun. They both talked about different points that they want.
Yes.
They want someone that, Victoria mentioned she wants someone that can give programs for people of all ages. And Shagun mentioned she wanted someone who is very transparent, honest, not going to be using the money for purposes, their own reasons, right?
Yes, yes.
So I think that's really great. And personally, I think coming from America, I've been living in Korea now for 20 years. And
wow, 20 years.
Yes.
Have all those years been in Busan, or have you been in other cities?
Seoul and Busan.
I see.
And so I personally love living in Korea. I am American though, and I don't want to get into the politics of America per se.
Let's not.
But sometimes it's hard to know if the money that I'm paying as a taxpayer is going to the right places.
Yes.
And so that for me is also a very big issue. I want to make sure that someone I vote into office will be honest and will be able to give back what they promise.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And I think it also goes to say whether the person you voted for, respectively, wins or not, the transparency should be across the board, right?
Yeah, transparency across the board. Someone who is honest, someone who really cares about the citizens.
Yes.
Those are things that I really want.
Absolutely. So in the 20 years that you've been here in Korea, you said that you're looking forward to becoming eligible next year.
Yes, next year.
So is there a particular reason that you're looking forward to the voting process, or is it to make you feel more like you are a true Busanite?
Well, I think the thing is I've lived in Busan now for 13 years, in Korea for 20.
Sure.
And I'm very active in the community. And I do like to participate in a lot of the different activities that Busan puts on. And I'm very proud of Busan.
Yes.
So I want to be able to make my voice heard and put my vote toward someone that is going to make Busan the city that I truly believe it is.
Well, thank you for sharing. I love that.
Of course.
All right, so I think we're ready for our next Busanite, right? So who do you have for us?
Yeah, let's take a listen. Hi, what's your name?
Hello, my name is Snil Silwal and I'm from Nepal.
Okay, great. So you're a foreign resident living here in Korea, and it's voting week this week. So as a foreign resident living here in Busan, what kind of promises or policies would make you support a candidate? So if you could vote, you cannot vote, but if you could, what kind of policies, what kind of rules, what kind of person, what kind of ideas would you want to vote for a candidate for Busan?
Improvements in support for international students. There has been a number of cases where, like, as an international student, to support themselves financially, there has been some problems. So, if there could be some promises related to easiness in finding jobs for international students, I would support.
So you want to vote for someone that would help out international students here?
Yeah.
So he's from Nepal. Did I get that correct?
Right. He is a student from Nepal, and he said that he wants someone that's going to help to support foreign students and help them, especially with financial issues, and maybe that could be through finding jobs.
Yes.
So I think that's so important because I went to graduate school here in Korea, actually.
Yes.
And for me, that was one of the most difficult times in my life. The reason was because, doing the studies here was great.
Yes.
But there were times when I didn't get scholarships and I would face financial difficulty.
Right.
And a lot of times Korea will say, before they invite foreign students here, they'll say, you need to have this much money in your bank account.
Exactly.
But you never know what's going to happen over the period of time. And things are sometimes more expensive. You might have a family issue at home.
Sure.
And the problem is there's no lending institutions in Korea that help out foreign students.
Right.
So at the time, the only thing I could do was ask my friends for money. And it was really stressful and kind of embarrassing.
Sure.
And I felt like I couldn't focus on my studies.
Right.
I was always stressed about how am I going to pay my tuition? What am I going to do? So I think that having some sort of, as he mentioned, maybe provide jobs for foreign students, maybe have some different programs set up. That would maybe help the foreign students to ease their financial burdens of studying here.
And the thing is this, those foreign students that if they do stay in Busan, and we hope they do, and they do get jobs in Busan, they're actually paying taxes.
Exactly.
They're taxpayers. So it's not like just like we're giving a free lunch to foreign students. I want to get that point across because some people, they misunderstand foreigners. Tegan.
Yes.
We pay taxes.
Right.
Yeah, we definitely pay taxes. And so it's not necessarily we want a leg up for foreign nationals.
No.
But as Tegan pointed out, there are close to zero resources for foreign students.
Very difficult.
It's really, really difficult. And I'm raising 3 students.
Right.
Right. And it was really difficult, even as a parent, when you can't get loans or any type of lending. It's really difficult. There are so many obstacles.
So your children are actually...
They're American.
So, okay, American.
Yeah, so
they're going to be going through the same thing that I went through. So basically they have to probably rely on you for you're the financial institution.
I am Bank of Mom.
Okay.
Yes. So this was a great point that he made in terms of the foreign residents and, if you're a student especially, to be able to, at least get a foot in the door.
And he didn't say just they want money. He said maybe provide jobs. Maybe there could be some certain things going on during the vacations. In my opinion, maybe during summer vacation, winter vacation, there could be programs. Maybe foreign students can volunteer at festivals, not volunteer, but get paid to work at festivals.
Internships.
Yeah, things like that might be helpful for foreign students.
Absolutely. All right. So we have a message from 고수님 who says 외국인 방문 수가 많은 만큼 그에 맞는 준비도 필요하겠죠. So he's basically saying the number of foreign nationals who are visiting has gone up astronomically, by the way. And so he hopes that our city is ready, prepared to be able to support not just the foreign visitors, but foreign residents, right?
Yeah, so hopefully, Busan's getting more foreigners, students, visitors, all. If we can prepare for that, that's going to make everyone have a better time.
Absolutely. All right, we are ready for our next interviewee.
All right.
What do you think is Busan's biggest strength or charm compared to other cities in Korea?
I guess Busan, it's a mixture of nature, and I don't think it's not like overcrowded. For what I've seen till now, it's not overcrowded. So it's a balance of nature and not overcrowded. Balance of everything. I mean, like infrastructures, roads, and the people here are also very nice. I would say so.
Wonderful. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
I have to say, not all, but most of the foreign residents that I come across, once they get to Busan,
they don't want to leave?
They don't want to leave.
I think so. Actually, Busan is the best city. I don't even think we need to explain how it compares because once you come, you just know.
Yeah.
I actually, as I said, I've lived in Seoul and I loved Seoul. I didn't dislike Seoul in any way.
Right.
But once I visited Busan, I knew that this was a city that I wanted to live in. It was like my dream. Well, as he mentioned, Busan has the mountains. Busan has the mix of nature combined with this beautiful metropolitan city.
Absolutely.
So you can basically get everything in one. You don't have to go to the countryside. You can literally just hike a mountain behind your house, and then you can be downtown enjoying the perks of a metropolitan city.
So true. I can't agree more. I just was in Seoul over the weekend.
Oh, wow.
It was... concrete jungle is like an understatement. Love our capital city. There's nothing wrong with it.
No.
And for some people, they love it, right? But I just feel like what you said, ditto, because the mixture of the nature, the city, and it's like, kind of relaxing vibes as well, though. It's not as like,
hustle and bustle.
Yeah, like Seoul.
It's good to visit Seoul.
Yes.
Visiting Seoul is great.
Yes.
But I personally love being in Busan. I love Busan, calling Busan my home.
I agree. And this is, of course, not dissing on any city in any part of Korea, but we just prefer Busan.
We prefer it.
Yes. And so I hear that you have one more clip that you have gotten for. This is Shagun again, right?
Yes. Let's take a listen to what she had to say.
What kind of city would you like Busan to become in the future?
Okay, so for me, because where I come from, it's more of like very chaotic city and not very calm. It doesn't give that calmness. For me, Busan is actually a perfect city, even if I compare it with the other cities. But I feel like maybe it could, since it's growing and it's growing and it's becoming more famous among foreigners as well, and foreigners are coming around here. So yeah, some things like maybe foreign friendly, some like kind of, there are like restaurants and there are many things, but I feel like it's a perfect city because for me, since it's going to be like maybe more than a year now, and I have been just loving this city. It's like it gives calmness, it gives the calm peace and all, but I don't think, because I'm not quite good with, choosing cities. But I feel like if there would be one city, I would definitely choose Busan because it gives... Because I love mountains. For me, it's a definite thing that I will choose. Maybe in future, if I had a choice to live somewhere, I would choose a city with just mountains and beaches. So it's a perfect example for that.
So you want Busan to stay the same?
Yeah, if there would be any change, I hope they are good change and positive change and not into the negative one. Maybe they could be more foreign friendly because it's growing. But yeah, I think I would also request the foreigners to to learn more about Korean culture and etiquettes, I guess. So it's balanced both ways.
Busan to become a little bit more foreign friendly.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. So she loves Busan.
Yes.
I guess there's some ways that Busan can become more foreign friendly, especially with the amount of foreigners that are visiting and the amount of foreigners that are staying.
Sure. So great points that she made, and of course the other interviewees as well. But I have to say, Tegan, thank you so much for coming in today and giving us your take, your view, and of course, you looking forward to
next year. Yeah, next year I'll be one of the voters. It'll be 100,000, 150,001.
Yes. That will be Tegan.
Yeah, that'll be me.
All right, so take care. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you.
Everybody, this was Tegan for Voices of Busan on Election Day. I'll be back in just a moment. Morning Wave in Busan brings you special live coverage of Korea's June 3rd local elections. From polling stations to the latest election news, we bring you live updates throughout the show. You're now listening to Morning Wave in Busan, June 3rd local elections special coverage with me, Catherine. All right, listeners, let me give you an update. Voter turnout as of 7 a.m., 2% nationwide. Here in Busan, the voter turnout stands at 1.8%, but that was as of 7 a.m. We'll give you more details later on. Early voter turnout will be reflected starting at 1 p.m. That's later on this afternoon. And we are accepting your 투표 인증샷. So screen grab of your photo showing that you voted, you participated. However, once again, as Claire said, outside the polling station. Here is 사진 찍어 보내줘 by Gekko. I'll be back at 8.
나 술 마시러 갔고 나 혼자 봐 힘든 하루 끝났고 내 옆에 맥주 캔 하나 침대는 너무 크고 실내 온도는 좀 차가워 너의 온기만 있다면 완벽해질 텐데 난 아직 시차 적응 중에 물갈이 중 너의 자연상을 내 화한 맘에 채워 넣는 중 사진첩을 열어 엄지로 까닥까닥 손가락 두 개로 화면 위에서 스케이트하네 둘이 갔던 바닷가와 번화가나 같이 만든 과거들을 키워놓은 다음 캡처해 나의 시간 하나도 안 아까워 근처였다면 못 참고 전화했을 거야 지금 어디야 당장 나와 누가 싫고 누굴 믿는지 뭐가 좋고 뭐가 날 짜증나게 하는지 우리 대화는 진짜 자유롭고 유연한데 지금 그게 없어 고시생의 관절 같아 I need you, I need you, I need you, I need you 감당이 안 돼 내 삶에 너의 비중 속아줄게 너의 뷰티 애플리케이션 넌 내 삶의 짧은 베이케이션 yeah. 지금 사진 찍어 보내줘 네가 예쁘게 나온 걸로 지금 입고 있는 것도 먹고 있는 것도 작은 사각형안에서 우리 만나고 싶어 지금 사진 찍어 보내줘 네가 내 옆에 없을 때 너를 외워두고 싶어 이 각도 저 각도 한 번 더 하나 더 돌아가면 나랑 드라이브해 내 똥차 타고 창 열고 나의 플레이리스트 틀고 복잡하고 고됐던 우리 세상에게 잊혀지지 않기 위해 고생했던 애들 같은 우리 선물 샀어 유럽산으로 나중에 돈 많이 벌면 유럽을 통째 사주고 싶어 너의 친구들의 범사게 자본주의 사랑할래 너만 좋아 세상을 노려볼 때 바라보게 만들어 죽고 싶을 때도 살아보게 만들어 따뜻한 날씨보다 너의 따뜻한 한마디가 필요한 지금 보여줄래 너의 실시간을 Thank you, thank you Steve Jobs, thank you 21세기 테크놀로지 완전 thank you 안 써도 돼 그 썩을 뷰티 애플리케이션 넌 내 삶의 작은 베이케이션 yeah. 지금 사진 찍어 보내줘 네가 예쁘게 나온 걸로 지금 입고 있는 것도 먹고 있는 것도 작은 사각형 안에서 우리 만나고 싶어 지금 사진 찍어 보내줘 네가 내 옆에 없을 때 너를 보고 싶어 이 각도 저 각도 한 번 더 하나 더 Take a check take a check take a check right now take a check take a check take a check take a check right now take a check send me a picture for me send me a picture for me send me a picture for me
Your bridge to the world.
FM 부산영어방송.
인생 막창을 찾아서 일어는 만나 불만열사 막창의 신 불만열사 장사의 신 불만열사 여기가 인생 막창 불타는 막창 열받은 삼겹 불만열사.
혹시 지금 운전 중이신가요? 어린이 교통사고 피해자 수는 지난 3년 평균 약 9만 명. 특히 어린이 보호구역 안전 기준이 강화된 이후에도 어린이 보호구역 내 사고는 지속적으로 발생하고 있습니다. 스쿨존에서는 반드시 시속 30km 이하 서행, 스쿨존 내 불법 주정차 금지, 차량 출발 전 앞뒤 좌우 살피는 습관으로 어린이가 안전한 도시를 만듭니다. 참, 운전 중 휴대전화 사용은 모두에게 위험합니다. 우리 모두를 위한 교통안전, 나부터 실천하면 모두가 안전해집니다. 어린이가 안전하게 뛰어놀 수 있는 부산. 아이 키우기 좋은 도시는 우리 모두의 미래이자 희망입니다. 이 캠페인은 어린이가 안전한 부산을 만드는 은행, B&K 부산은행과 함께합니다.
이 말을 입에 달고 살더군요. 하지만 바쁜 걸음을 멈추는 모습에 놀랐습니다.
제가 들어드릴게요.
여기 앉으세요.
May I help you? 모르는 사람끼리 서로 존중하고 배려하는 모습을 보며 이게 대한민국이구나 생각했습니다. 가장 빠른 나라 대한민국에는 가장 따뜻한 멈춤이 있습니다. 공익광고협의회.
The time is now 8 o'clock.
Welcome back. This is 8 o'clock Spotlight News. Polls open for June 3rd local elections. Polls are open across 14,000 locations nationwide for the local elections as rival parties made a final push yesterday to mobilize support for an election widely seen as a test of public sentiment toward President Lee Jae-myung's first year in office. For grabs in the June 3rd elections are 16 mayoral and gubernatorial posts, along with 227 heads of local governments and some 4,000 members of local councils, along with 14 National Assembly seats, including Busan's Bukgu-Kap district. The ruling Democratic Party appealed to voters to support the Lee Jae-myung government, whereas the opposition People Power Party warned that the administration will cross the final red line if left unchecked in this election. launched joint investigation into Hanwha Aerospace explosion. Tegan Metropolitan Police Agency, the Fire Service, the National Forensic Service, the Labor Ministry, and the Korea Occupational Safety and Health Agency launched a joint investigation into Hanwha's Aerospace's Tegan factory following a deadly explosion that left 5 people dead. The police plan to investigate the exact cause of the explosion by locating where the ignition began and looking into whether flammable materials were present at the scene. Hanwha has partially suspended production at the Tegan factory, which is a key defense facility and is designated as a secret defense factory. Seoul shares again end at record high on Samsung's performance. South Korean stocks closed at a fresh high of above the landmark 8,800-point level yesterday, led by Samsung Electronics, which entered the global top 10 in terms of market capitalization. The benchmark Korea Composites Stock Price Index, known as KOSPI, added 13.11 points to close at 8,801 points, with mixed performances by market giants. The Korean won was quoted as at 1,517.31 against the U.S. dollar at 3:30 p.m., down 13.1 from the previous session. Consumer prices rise 3.1% in May on soaring fuel prices. South Korea's consumer prices rose more than 3% in May from a year earlier, amid global energy price volatility following the Middle East war, marking the fastest growth in 26 months. That's according to the Ministry of Data and Statistics yesterday. Petroleum product prices shot up 24.2%, accounting for 0.92 percentage point of the overall consumer price increase. It marked the sharpest increase since 2022 during the early stage of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The Bank of Korea, meanwhile, noted consumer prices are expected to rise at a similar pace in June amid rising global crude prices. Israel strikes Lebanon despite Trump's ceasefire efforts. Israel has launched dozens of strikes across southern Lebanon despite U.S. President Donald Trump's announcement of an agreement between Israel and Lebanese militant group Hezbollah to stop fighting. The Israeli military also issued a new evacuation warning for the southern city of Nabatea before new strikes, accusing the Hezbollah terror organization of violating the ceasefire. The fighting between Israel and Hezbollah has become the new point of tension in ceasefire talks between the U.S. and Iran, with Iran saying that it has paused negotiations until Israel stops its offensive in Lebanon. And this was Spotlight News. Welcome back to hour number 2 of Morning Wave in Busan, our local election special. Today marks South Korea's 9th nationwide local elections, with voters casting ballots across the country to choose key local leaders. And these elections will determine leadership positions in cities, provinces, and districts, shaping local governance for the next 4 years. We now turn to our reporters on the ground here in South Korea, where it's been a busy morning at polling stations across the country. The atmosphere has been active nationwide as voters head to the polls. We're going to begin with Haley, who's in Busan, for a closer look at the turnout, voter sentiment, and any notable developments from the scene. Hi, Haley. Good morning.
Good morning.
So if you can describe to us what the mood is like at the polling station where you are right now.
Absolutely. So I'm at the Busan Design Center in Centum City. So this is one of the polling stations for Haeundae-gu District. The mood here is quite calm. So we are seeing a steady flow of people going in and out of the building, but no long lines quite yet.
Yes. So in terms of the early voter turnout for Busan, can you give us some numbers?
Absolutely. So according to the National Election Commission, or the NEC, Busan's early voter turnout came to 21.29%. Now, this is lower than the national average, but it is above Busan's previous record for other local elections. Breaking this down by region, we are seeing a pattern of the original city center showing a fairly high early voter turnout, and these are the areas that have a relatively high elderly population. For instance, Donggu had the highest rate at 24.9%, and Yeongdo-gu coming in second at 24.5%. But turning to the lower end, Gijang-gun County came in at 17.81%, and Gangseogu District 20.1% rather, and these do have relatively younger populations. Also, current voter turnout as of 8 a.m. in Busan was 4.2%.
I see. Thanks for the latest on the ground, on the scene. So how are the parties interpreting these numbers thus far?
Right, so the parties are saying that the relatively high voter turnout will be more favorable for their own parties. For instance, the Democratic Party, or the DP, is saying that the voters want change in regional government under the Lee Jae-myung administration. So they're emphasizing that the higher voter turnout this will be better for the progressives. On the contrary, the opposition People Power Party, or the PPP, is saying that the higher voter turnout is the people's willingness to bring judgment to the administration. And they're saying this is a reflection of a solidarity or consolidation of the conservative base plus the moderates.
I see. Well, for now, let's turn to the Busan mayoral race because this is a big one. First, with the respective candidates and their key pledges.
Right, so let's start with the Democratic Party. Former third-term lawmaker and former Oceans and Fisheries Minister Jeon Jae-soo is the candidate. His byline is the maritime capital of Busan, combining the administrative, judicial, financial, and corporate aspects. He's also focusing on AI, Busan being an AI leader to propel future growth. Also in terms of welfare, direct care and mutual welfare. For young people, he's working on this vision for Busan City to directly hire young people and then dispatching them to corporations to get their career started early on. And finally, in terms of transportation, he is focusing on interconnected transportation infrastructure.
Yes, indeed. And what about the PPP candidate, Park Hyung-jun?
Right. So PPP's candidate, Park Hyung-jun, his top pledge is the so-called Busan Chance. This is for young people, helping them make their first 100 million won, with the city matching that fund. Also, world-class city is key, with a goal of 10 million tourists in the city via the Gadok International Airport. He is also focusing on AI as well, with this being the future industry with data and Busan-type AI. Also interconnected transportation and care across all ages with the local state community.
Yes, but there's also the Reform Party's Chung Yi-han, right?
That's right. So he's focusing on job creation to propel local community. In terms of welfare, reopening that Baptist hospital to fill the gap in eastern Busan. Also, he's proposing this Netflix house for cultural infrastructure and a dome baseball stadium at Tajik. And finally, a child-friendly Busan package.
Yes, indeed. Well, how did the candidates spend their final day of campaigning? Do we know?
Right. So with campaigning ending at midnight, Jeon Jae-soo did a sweep of the original city center, but ended the day at his political home ground of Puk-kap, meeting the voters. Park Hyung-jun had a final rally in downtown Cheonmyeon, having met with voters at Pyeongpo Cafe Street. And finally, Chung Yi-han also ended his day in Cheonmyeon.
I see. Well, the race that is getting national attention once again is this Puk-kap by-election here in Busan, the Puk area. So tell us about this race.
That's right. This is a three-person race. The DP's candidate is former Cheongwade's AI aide, Ha Jung-woo. For the PPP, former Minister of Patriots and Veterans Affairs, Bang Min-sik. And finally, independent candidate, Han Dong-hoon. We did head into the election without a candidate unification between the two conservative candidates, and this has become a matter of pride, with the DP needing to protect its only blue seat in Busan and the conservatives wanting to safeguard this. To give you the early voter turnout for the Puk-kap election, it came to 25.57%, which is above average for the 14 by-election and re-election districts. So that shows how heated this election is.
Yes, indeed. Well, before we let you go, I understand that you have been speaking with various voters at the polling station, and you have one person in particular. So let's hear what he has to say.
We do. 네, 선생님 안녕하십니까? 일단 자기소개 먼저 부탁드릴게요. Can you introduce yourself?
안녕하십니까. 저는 부산에서 60년 살고 있는 이재후라고 합니다.
This is Mr. Lee Jae-hoo, and he's been living in Busan for the last 60 years. 네, 오늘 어떤 마음으로 투표하려 오셨고요? 후보를 뽑을 때는 어떤 기준을 염두에 두셨나요? So I'm going to ask him what's on his mind as he goes into vote, and what criteria or standards he's looking for.
네, 제가 오늘 투표하고자 하는 것은 정말 최근에 부산이 너무나도 침체되고 있잖아요. 인구도 감소하고 일자리도 없고 그러는데 정말 진정으로 부산을 위해서 일자리도 좀 많이 창출할 수 있는 분, 그리고 부산 시민하고 주민데 어떻게 좀 좋은 아이디어를 내가지고 부산에 사람들이 몰려들 수 있는 그러한 정책을 잘 수행할 수 있는 분을 선발을 하려고 하는데 내가 지금 그런 사람이 누굴까 많이 고심하고 있으면서 그런 마음을 가지고 그런 분에게 내가 투표하러 왔습니다.
All right, to paraphrase, he is looking for a candidate who can bring more people to help the Busan's population and job creation. 네, 선생님 오늘 인터뷰 감사합니다.
네, 고맙습니다. 수고합니다.
Thank you, Catherine. That's a wrap. A field report from Busan. This was Haley from BFM.
Once again, everybody, this was Haley. Thank you, Haley, for being on the scene, and we'll see you back in the studio in just a moment. So, waivers, once again, this was our first on-the-scene report. This is obviously in Centum in Busan right now. We're going to have Haley back in the studio once again. Mr. Lee as well, Lee Jae-hoo-nim. Thank you for the interview. I'll be back with our next report. Morning Wave in Busan brings you special live coverage of Korea's June 3rd local elections. From polling stations to the latest election news, we bring you live updates throughout the show. You're now listening to Morning Wave in Busan, June 3rd local elections special coverage with me, Catherine. Welcome back. We now turn to reporter Oh Soo-young, head of the Foreign Affairs and Security team at Arirang News Center, to see what's happening in Seoul, the capital. So, first of all, are you there, Soo-young?
Oh, yes, it's lovely to join you this morning. Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. So if you could tell us where you are currently reporting from and what's the on-site atmosphere there?
Sure. So I'm reporting outside a polling station in Yongsan-gu District, Central Seoul, where voting, of course, began at 6 a.m. And to be honest, at this hour, we're not seeing too many voters, just two or three at a time stopping by before presumably enjoying the public holiday. Inside the polling station, it's been proceeding quite smoothly so far. Election officials are checking identification, issuing ballots, and of course guiding voters through the process. And the atmosphere, it appears quite calm and very orderly. So, of course, this is South Korea's 9th nationwide local election with just over 44 million eligible voters. And Seoul by far is, of course, the country's biggest political battleground. More than 8.3 million people are eligible to vote here, accounting for nearly 1 in 5 voters nationwide. The capital is often seen as a barometer of wider political sentiment, and that is why both main parties have poured significant resources into this race. I'd say that's particularly true for this year because the election comes just 1 year into President Lee Jae-myung's administration. So it's going to be very interesting to see whether voters in the capital choose to align City Hall with the central government or choose to maintain a divided political leadership between Seoul and the administration.
Yes, indeed. So, in particular for the Seoul mayoral race, this is a big one. If you could briefly summarize the campaign pledges of Democratic Party candidate Jung Won-ho and also the People Power Party candidate Oh Se-hoon.
Right, so Democratic Party candidate Chung Won-woo, he's a 57-year-old, three-term elected head of Seongdong-gu district in Seoul. And he's been being pitted against the incumbent Seoul mayor, who is Oh Se-un, age 65. He's seeking a fourth term in office. So on their major policy pledges, both candidates, I say, have focused very heavily on issues that affect daily life, particularly housing and transport. Chung has centered his campaign on increasing housing supply, really accelerating redevelopment projects, and creating what he's called a 30-minute commute city, which is about reducing travel times across the capital. Now, he's also promoted investment in future industries, including artificial intelligence-focused business clusters. Now, Oh Se-un, meanwhile, he's highlighted his incumbency, his record in office, and argued that he needs to basically continue all the work that he's been doing. His pledges really include expanding transport infrastructure, strengthening youth employment, as well as improving accessibility to healthcare, and also developing AI-based public services. So you can see here that both candidates, they really are speaking to similar voter concerns. But Chung is presenting himself as the candidate of change and faster reform, while Oh is asking voters to continue with his projects and really highlighting, again, his incumbency. And final surveys before the polling blackout, they indicated that Chung Won-woo held a slight advantage. But all these polls, they vary slightly depending on the poll. So some surveys showed a gap of just a few percentage points, but others put Chung way ahead by double digits. So it really underscores just how difficult the outcome is to predict.
Yes, thanks for summarizing the campaign pledges and what's happening right there. So what stands out to you the most at today's election site? I know that you said in the beginning that there are 2-3 people coming in right now at the polling site.
Right. So for this election, especially being here in Yongsan-gu district in central Seoul, I'd say that one thing that has really stood out to me this year is the number of foreign residents who are inquiring about their eligibility to vote. So many international listeners of yours, they might be surprised to learn that certain foreign nationals, they can very much participate in Korea's local elections.
Right.
Our system was introduced in 1990s. No, sorry, that it was introduced 20 years ago. So
2006, yes.
The revision of the Public Official Election Act that enables foreign residents to vote. And to qualify, of course, foreign nationals, they need to be at least 18 years old, have a permanent residency status, and have maintained that for at least 3 years. Now, interestingly, this year, a record 151,000 foreign residents are eligible to vote. That, of course, is only 0.34% of the entire electorate, but it does reflect the growing presence of long-term foreign residents in Korean society, especially here in Yongsan-gu district, where some 7.2% of the population are non-Koreans.
Ah, I see. Thanks for pointing that out. If you could summarize the key things voters should be careful about when casting their ballots today.
I think the biggest thing for voters today is to remember that the local elections, they are slightly more complex than presidential elections.
Right.
So depending on where voters live, they might receive several different ballots. These could cover races for mayors, local councils, and education officers. So it's incredibly important just to check each ballot very carefully before voting. Election officials are also reminding voters to do that. They're also reminding voters to use only the official stamp provided at the polling station. So if you still take around a pen in this digital era, don't mark the ballot with your own pen. Don't use a pencil, whatever. Use that official ballot. Also, another important point that officials are emphasizing is photography. So we all like to take that selfie outside the polling station. So outside it is completely fine, but taking pictures inside the voting booth or within that balloting area is very much prohibited, and it could end up to penalties quite severe of up to 2 years in prison or a fine of up to 4 million won. So make sure that if you're going to take any photos, do it outside the polling station. So to sum up, really, for voters today, The key really is to check your ballots, make sure that you're ticking the right one, use that official stamp, and keep photos away from the voting booths themselves.
All right. Thank you so much for your thorough reporting in Seoul right now. Thank you, Soo-young. Take care.
Have a lovely day.
Once again, this was Oh Soo-young, head of the Foreign Affairs and Security team at Arirang News Center. So thanks for her on-scene reporting. And in just a moment, we're going to be connecting with Kim So-yeon from Gwangju.
Traffic is so bad. Let's see what's on the radio.
Get the latest news and current issues that you need here on Morning Wave in Busan. You're now listening to Morning Wave in Busan with me, Catherine. And now, listeners, we are going to be joined by reporter Kim So-yeon. She is a news presenter at Global Gwangju Network. So let's see what she has to say. So good morning. How are you, So-yeon?
Hi, good to talk to you and all the Busan listeners. I am very well, and right now I'm outside a polling station, so it's quite exciting to see all these people going in and out for their valuable vote.
Yes, indeed. So what is the on-site atmosphere like right now? If you could describe it for us.
Sure. So I am currently standing outside the polling station set up in the main conference hall on the third floor of the Chungdang-dong Administration Welfare Center in Donggu District of Gwangju City. And since the polls opened at 6 a.m., a steady stream of voters have been arriving, and people are still coming and going after casting their ballots. Now, with voting continuing until 6 p.m. tonight, there is considerable interest in how today's turnout and final results may unfold.
Indeed. So tell us about the early voting period in that region.
Absolutely. So I believe a lot of people may be already aware, but the strong voter enthusiasm seen during the early voting period on May 29th and 30th is also evident today in Gwangju and Songnam regions. So in a region that is traditionally regarded as a Democratic Party stronghold, attention is focused on how candidates from other parties and independents will perform. Now, early voting turnout in Gwangju and Songnam region reached 34.14%, which is more than 10% points above the national average of 23.51%. Now, Songnam recorded the highest rate nationwide. This is at 38.95%, whereas Gwangju ranks third nationally with 27.83%. So these are the highest early voting figures since the system was introduced for local elections back in 2014, which reflects exceptionally strong voter engagement across the region.
Yes, indeed. So for the South Jeolla Province and Gwangju Metropolitan Leadership race, if you could briefly summarize the campaign pledges of the candidates.
Sure. So there are 5 candidates that are currently contesting the inaugural mayoral election of the integrated special city. We're talking about Democratic Party candidate Min Hyung-bae, People Power Party candidate Lee Jung-hyun, Progressive Party candidate Lee Jong-uk, Justice Party candidate Kang Eun-mi, and Independent candidate Kim Kwang-man. Now, as for the Democratic Party, Min Hyung-bae, he proposes a regional development model built around 4 major zones, specializing in industries such as AI, future mobility, semiconductors, renewable energy, batteries, hydrogen, aerospace, and agri-food industries. Whereas Lee Jung-hyun from the People Power Party argues that the integrated city represents the greatest opportunity in generations. So he's focusing on deregulation, administrative reform, and creating a business-friendly environment to attract larger-scale investment. As for Lee Jong-uk, advocates an expanded Honam special city concept linking Gwangju, Songnam, and the Jeonbuk area, while Kang Eun-mi emphasizes labor rights, care services, a circular regional economy, and carbon neutrality. Last but not the least, Kim Kwang-man is concentrating on practical development policies covering healthcare, transport, tourism, local commerce, and agriculture.
Yes, indeed. Anything else we need to know about the local politics there?
Absolutely. So the candidates also differ significantly on how to use the government's planned 20 trillion won integration incentive package. So Min Hyung-bae would invest most of the funding in advanced industries such as AI, semiconductors, and aerospace, while also supporting talent development and social safety programs. Lee Jung-hyun from the People Power Party proposes concentrating of these resources on attracting major corporations through industrial clusters focused on defense, semiconductors, energy, AI, batteries, and future vehicles. And Lee Jong-uk wants citizens to participate directly in deciding how the funds are spent, while Kang Eun-mi prioritizes strengthening the regional economy and public institutions. Kim Kwang-man places greater emphasis on step-by-step development projects supported through national and local government funding.
Thank you for the details. But a question some of our listeners may be having is this. Why are South Jeolla Province and Gwangju holding a joint election instead of holding separate regional votes?
Right. So as many listeners will know, Gwangju and Jeonnam regions have now been integrated into a single local government. So after being separated in 1986, when Gwangju became a directly governed city, the two regions will reunite on July 1st. That is less than a month away for the first time in nearly 40 years.
Right.
Now, earlier this year, the government jointly declared their intention to pursue the integration following approval by the local councils, the introduction of special legislation, and passage by the National Assembly. The process moved forward at unprecedented speed. Now, while some critics argue that public opinion was not fully reflected, the integration has now become South Korea's first large-scale regional administrative merger. So as a result, Gwangju Metropolitan City and Jeonnam Province will now be replaced by the new Jeonnam-Gwangju Integrated Special City. Now, this new entity will have a population of roughly 3.2 million people, comparable to Busan and Incheon, and a regional economy worth around 159 trillion won, which is exceeding both cities that I just mentioned.
Okay.
Now, the central government has also pledged 20 trillion won in support over 4 years, and this election is therefore the first opportunity for voters to choose the leadership of the new integrated city. So the voters will elect the inaugural mayor, superintendent of education, metropolitan council members, local government heads, and local councillors, totaling about 440.
Right. So once again, a very significant year in terms of the integration of these two cities. And now we're going to talk about the election for the inaugural superintendent of education of this integrated special city.
Yes, that's also drawing a lot of attention. The election for the inaugural superintendent of education of this integrated special city. Now, the significance of this position is quite considerable. The successful candidate will become the first education chief responsible for overseeing a unified education system across both Gwangju and Jeonnam regions. Now, according to 2025 figures, the office will manage an annual education budget of approximately 7 trillion won, oversee around 45,000 teachers and more than 8,000 education administration officials, and be responsible for roughly about 320,000 students and over 1,600 schools. Now, the superintendent will also hold appointment authority over local education office chiefs across the region, highlighting the substantial influence that is attached to the position. And at the same time, concerns persist that the race may become a so-called blind election. Now, because superintendent elections are officially non-partisan, many voters find it difficult to identify the candidate's policy priorities or ideological learning.
Right.
So for that reason, election officials and civic groups are urging voters to carefully compare candidates' educational philosophies and policy platforms before casting their ballot.
Indeed, a very important position. Any last comments before I let you go today?
Okay, so the Gwangju and Jeonnam Election Commission is encouraging voters to review each candidate's policies, assets, military service records, tax history, and criminal records through official election materials, and to check their designated polling station in advance before voting. Above all, today is an opportunity for every citizen to exercise one of the most important rights in a democracy. So I hope everybody will make sure your voice is heard.
Well, thank you so much for your thorough reporting. We do appreciate it. Thank you and take care.
Thank you for having me.
This was reporter Kim So-yeon, news presenter at Global Gwangju Network. All right, we are going to take a break. And by the way, thank you to all the on-the-scene reporters, the reports. We do appreciate it. This is Get by Oban Takapa.
왜 세상에 잣대 남들에겐 그렇게 착하게 구는데도 왜 난 너에게 그렇게 야박해 hey, You gotta love yourself more than anything in this world 너나 나 같은 멍청이들이 아직 많이 있어 그러니까 없어 분명히 하나도 그리면 되면 명은 너에게 이미 그려진 지도를 쥐어주겠지 만 그걸 무시하는 게 우리에게는 지금 필요해서 우리란 뭐지 큰 거울 같은 데에서 나는 모조리 깨부시려 해 그리고 너가 필요해 Also be my friend This is how we live our life 오후 2시쯤에 일어나 나 모두가 출근할 때 집에 가나 누군가 부럽다겠어 나 이것도 쉽진 않아 그 말할 때 정답이 꼭 있진 않아 그러니까 너도 내 말을 전부 다 믿진 않아 또 됐어 just do your thing 누가 뭐라던 간에 후회 없게 Hey
망설여 바보같이 답답해 너의 태도 그냥 좀 해도 돼 한 번쯤 미친 사람처럼
All right, everybody, welcome back. It is now time for Food for Thought. So it's time for our final segment of Morning Wave in Busan. This is, of course, the June 3rd Election Day special coverage. So come 6 p.m. tonight, we're going to see what happens. We're going to get exit polls and a very interesting, entertaining coverage by the broadcasting channels and cable news networks for which we get quite a bit of international attention. So there might also be some gray areas in South Korea's election system. For instance, the piles of flyers we got in the mail that some people chucked in the trash without even opening. What about the banners? What happens to those? And even the right to vote. So for today's Food for Thought, let's address and discuss these issues. In the studio once again, we have Haley and Leon. Yay!
Good morning.
Good morning. Yes. So it's a very important day. Obviously, Election Day is finally here. We've been building up to this day for weeks on end. So I believe we're going to turn to Leon first today, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So today is Election Day, which means many of us have already seen that thick stack of election pamphlets that arrived in our mailbox maybe 1 to 2 or 3 weeks ago. But let's be honest, did you guys actually open them, go through all of the pamphlets?
Well, you didn't get one, you're off the hook.
You didn't get one.
Oh, she did. Well, she's
I'm not eligible to vote.
I peruse them. I do. We always
Peruse.
open, but we peruse.
I like that word.
Peruse.
Scan.
Flip through, right.
Yeah.
So here's also a question for our listeners if they can dive in.
Okay.
I want to ask them, where did you actually get the information about the candidates for this election? Was it through the traditional pamphlets or TV debate, Nottubu, social media? So I want to hear how you guys got the information about the candidates, because surprisingly, out of 10 people, how many do you think actually go through the thick pamphlets that we receive in our mailbox?
Thoroughly?
Let's just say even peruse.
Thoroughly, even peruse.
I'm going to say 3. Like
3
a
out of
third.
10.
Yeah, 3 out of 10.
3.5.
That's being very generous, actually.
Oh, really?
Really?
Because one recent survey found that only about 11%, so 1 out of 10, right, said they carefully read election pamphlets. More than a third said they either don't read them at all or just throw them away unopened.
Yikes.
They don't even bother to open it because they're so heavy. And yet, during the last local elections, nearly 580 million pamphlets were printed. The mailing cost came to 30 billion won.
Oh my God.
That's about
so much money.
300억 won, right?
Taxpayer money.
Yes, so people are now asking if voters aren't reading them and just, throwing them at the trash can.
Yes.
Is there a better way to share this information? So, like I said earlier, many younger voters say they get their information from Nottubu, social media, or the candidates' websites instead.
But what about for like the older population?
Exactly.
Are they the ones reading? But then I'm thinking, I don't know how small the font is.
They're small. They're
They're
not
small. So
they're not enlarged for the elders.
Right. So I'm thinking, how conducive is that?
Exactly. So maybe a digital version is better because they can at least expand and zoom in. And, we have that setting on our smartphone.
Right.
So some lawmakers actually have proposed we need the electronic versions of the election pamphlets. But still, there are those who still argue that pamphlets are absolutely necessary. And that's for the smaller political parties. Because for them, with that one pamphlet, maybe the one and only few opportunity they have to introduce themselves directly to voters.
Okay.
Because unlike major parties, they cannot afford huge advertising campaigns like the trucks that we see.
I will say
around.
this though, even within that packet, you can tell which party had the funding because they have it's fancy paper. It's like the semi-glossy the quality of paper is different, and you can tell by the design. And then the others, it's a single piece of paper.
Exactly,
it's very thin.
Yes, and you can tell which one is like photoshopped to the max, and one is just like very candid shot.
Who had a designated graphic designer and who didn't?
Yeah. So there's inequality there, but even still, the smaller political parties say this is the only chance we have.
I see.
So we still absolutely need them.
Interesting.
Yes. So there's also one more aspect of this voting, which is accessibility. Because for some voters, the problem isn't whether, can we get our election information digital or through printed. It's whether they can access the information at all. And I'm talking about voters with visual impairments specifically. So while Korea does provide, Braille election pamphlets, USB files, and QR code-based audio services, advocacy groups say there are still gaps in the system. So we spoke with a teacher, Anna Lee, at Busan School for the Blind, and we asked her how visually impaired voters currently receive election information. So let's take a listen.
네, 안녕하세요. 저는 부산 맹학교에 근무하고 있는 교사 안나리라고 합니다. 저는 선거 때가 되면 우편물이 오는데요. 그 우편물 안에 이제 후보님들의 공약이 점자로 인쇄가 된 인쇄물하고 그다음 USB에 그 공약이 이제 텍스트 파일로 담겨서 이렇게 같이 오게 됩니다. 저는 점자를 읽는데도 크게 문제가 없고 컴퓨터로 USB 파일을 읽는데도 크게 문제가 없어서 저에게는 형태적으로 큰 문제는 없는데요. 점자를 잘 읽기 힘들거나 아니면 이제 컴퓨터를 사용할 수 없는 환경에 있는 장애인 분들의 경우에는 이제 그 형태가 조금 제한적일 수 있다고 생각이 들어요. 그래서 이런 경우에 확대 목자 같은 그런 그냥 일반 글자로 인쇄된 홍보물도 같이 주시면 좋을 것 같다는 생각이 듭니다. 네, 그런데 또 조금 아쉬운 점이 있다면 모든 후보님들의 공약이 다 저희한테 전달이 되는 것은 아니고요. 그 후보님들 중에서 정보 제공에 동의를 해주신 분들에 한해서만 저희가 공약을 받아보고 있거든요. 그래서 이런 경우에는 아무래도 정보가 제한적으로 제공이 되다 보니까 선택에 좀 어려움이 있을 거라고 생각이 들어요. 그래서 후보님들은 각자의 사정이 있을 거라고 생각이 들지만 가급적 모든 후보님들이 장애인들을 위한 자료를 제공에 동의를 좀 해주시기를 부탁드려요.
Yes. So basically she says that the Braille and USB materials themselves generally do work well. However, she pointed out that, some people find Braille itself difficult to read, while others may not even be in an environment where they can use digital files because you would need the computers, right?
Right.
So she just suggested providing enlarged print versions alongside Braille material so that the voters with, different levels of visual impairments have more options to actually gain the information that they need. Also, this is also one thing I didn't know previously. So currently information is only provided for candidates who agree to participate in the accessible information program.
Really?
Yeah, so I guess some candidates say, I don't want my information to be given out to in this Braille form or through this USB format.
What does that say about that candidate?
I know,
a lot.
exactly.
Volumes.
Maybe they don't want to, invest. I don't know. That's a big problem. So as a result, voters may not receive information about every candidate on the ballot. So she says that ideally, all candidates' information should be made available so that visually impaired voters can make fully informed choices.
I have a question.
Yes.
So is this, in terms of the USB and the Braille,
Right.
is this the parties that they themselves have to fund individually, or do they provide that to the NEC, and do we do that like collectively as a country?
I
So
don't
that's
know.
a good question,
I feel
but
like
I think that maybe funding might be an issue for some of the smaller party candidates, the independent candidates. So I guess we shouldn't
Interesting.
rush to
Okay.
judge.
Right.
So
I withdraw my criticism for now.
for now. Yes. All right. So what else did you ask
Yes,
her?
so we also asked her what policies or changes are needed to, fully guarantee voting rights for the people with disabilities. So let's take a listen.
일단 장애인 분들 중에서 투표소에 접근하기가 어려운 분들이 생각보다 많이 계세요. 저도 이제 시각장애인이기 때문에 누군가랑 도움을 받아서 움직여야 되는 부분도 있고요. 또 지체장애인 분들, 휠체어 타시는 분들은 투표소가 이제 계단이 많거나 휠체어가 접근하기 어려운 곳에 마련된 경우도 많다고 들었거든요. 그래서 가장 중요한 거는 투표소가 장애인들이 접근하기가 좋은 곳에 위치해야 된다고 생각을 하고요. 그리고 정말 이동이 불편하고 많이 어려운, 그러니까 밖에 나오는 게 정말 너무나 힘드신 분들도 많이 계세요. 그런 분들을 위해서 장애인분들이 많이 계시는 시설이나 이런 곳에 방문 투표 이런 제도 같은 것도 좀 고려를 할 수 있을 것 같고요. 그리고 지금 이제 교통약자 이동지원센터에서 뭐 차량을 지원하거나 이런 경우가 있기는 해요. 근데 이제 장애인 분들의 숫자에 비해서 그 수가 차의 수가 너무 적고 그래서 조금 많이 힘들게 이용을 하고 계세요. 투표철이나 이런 데는 지원을 많이 늘리거나 이런 것도 방법이 될 것 같아요.
All right, so that was An Nari, teacher from the Busan School for the Blind, once again. And she said basically saying that for many people with disabilities, the challenge isn't just accessing election information, it's accessing the vote itself.
Right.
Because some polling stations can be very difficult to reach, especially for wheelchair users or people with limited mobility.
Right.
And so she believes voting locations should be more accessible and that additional support such as transportation services or even things like 찾아가는 투표 or 방문 투표. So we're talking about like mobile polling services where election officials come to the people who physically cannot travel.
Right.
These kind of systems should be considered for people who have difficulty leaving their homes.
Yes.
So while Korea has made some progress, many people say there's still a lot of work to do when it comes to making the voting itself and making the voting information about the candidates truly accessible to everyone out there.
Great points that you bring up. Thank you so much, Leon. We're now going to move on to Haley for the broader theme of the right to vote.
Right. So actually, I want to carry down that topic. So Leon talked about people who have physical disabilities, visual
Right.
impairment, or wheelchairs. But I want to talk about people who have developmental disabilities, 발달 장애인 참정권, because there are some 210,000 eligible voters who have developmental disabilities in South Korea.
Right.
But it seems that the infrastructure to guarantee their right to vote is lacking. It kind of goes into what Leon said and what the teacher An said about, because we think visual impairment, Braille should be fine, but visual impairment has different levels.
Sure.
So does developmental disability. Some people have shaky hands due to their disabilities, but apparently some NEC officials, National Election Commission officials on the scene, basically they very subjectively determine the degree of severity. Like, 그렇게 많이 안 흔들리시는데요. So then they decide, then you don't need the voter aid. You don't need the assistant to go in and help you because you're fine. You can sign your name. There's a difference between signing your name and being able to get that stamp into the fairly small rectangle.
I hear it can be challenging
Exactly.
for anybody.
For anybody who's elderly, who might have rough grip. So there are other assistive devices, but apparently, again, this person was able to cite his or her full registration number, and they're like, oh, then you're not that disabled, quote unquote, so you don't need that assistance.
We're talking about NEC officials.
We're talking about
making
government
the call.
officials, right?
Okay, so I'm curious. How are other countries coping with issues like this?
Right. So some countries, namely the UK, Turkey, and Egypt, they have ballots that have photos of the candidates or visual aids like party logos and other shapes for people who may struggle with reading or not fully remember the candidates' names. Because again, today we have 7 to 8 ballots.
Right.
And advocates in 2022 did file a suit against the NEC for the assistant and photo ballots. However, the NEC appealed the ruling, saying that it is practically hard to make such ballots for over 9,000 candidates who are running in the local elections.
Right. Well, I have another question, though, because most people may have the day off. However, what about voting rights for people who actually have to go to work today?
Right. So there was early voting, but some working conditions don't even allow for that.
Exactly.
What if you work nights or what if you are there for a full 12-hour shift? So the Korea Confederation of Trade Unions held a press conference last week saying that these workers are basically tied to work. So in terms of voting, they are in this legal blind spot.
Yes. And, some ways that some countries are coping with this access to voting, can we get some details?
Right, because another group quickly is the people who are living abroad. And there are almost 2 million people collectively who live abroad. That is larger than the population of the city of Tegan and smaller than Daegu. So it's like a full metropolitan city.
Right.
But if voter turnout for that group, barely scraping at 10% because there are 223 polling stations across 118 nations. So you have to go to an embassy or a consulate. For example, if you live in New Mexico or Arizona, you got to go to LA. You know how far that is?
That's far.
800 kilometers. But they might be better than somebody who lives in a rural part of Brazil who would have to travel 3,900 kilometers or drive straight, no break for 56 hours.
Oh my gosh.
And there are safety issues.
Right.
So for this, people are raising, well, can they just mail in the ballots? Because a lot of the countries, including the U.S., they are doing this. So, and then, or the topic of electronic voting. 전자투표 or 우편투표.
Sure.
So some countries, for example, Estonia is a huge leader in this. Their iVoting system goes back to 2005, and then they've implemented mobile voting. You can vote on your phone starting in 2011.
Sure.
So in the 2023 general election, over half the voters voted electronically. So this system is very much set. It's based on this digital ID and blockchain. And you can apparently even change your mind and vote again. And the final vote goes in as the vote.
Wow.
So here's the thing. That they are very progressive about e-voting.
Yes.
We are at the opposite spectrum. South Korea, Germany, and the U.S., we are fairly conservative about electronic voting.
Why, though?
Voter fraud.
Yes.
Cybersecurity. I mean, how many cybersecurity stories have we handled in the last year?
Exactly.
Voter verification, all of that.
And also, I think voters themselves might not want their information, who they voted to get somewhere, right?
So to wrap up, to give you a takeaway, yes, one person, one vote, principle of participatory democracy, but how is that person get defined? In the U.S. Constitution, it used to be white landowning man. Expand to people of color, then women. Technically in Korea, this is everybody, but in reality, are we excluding some people's rights?
Are we? So food for thought. But thank you, ladies, for coming in today and to woggle about the election, because such an important day today, and we wanted to cover most of all the bases. So this was Haley, this was Leon. Thank you for another interesting food for thought. All right, listeners, we have more tomorrow. By the way, you can vote until 6 p.m. tonight, and then tomorrow we'll be back with the election results and the latest updates. So definitely we will be back with more tomorrow. And for a final song, here is I'll Be There by the Jackson 5. Thanks for joining us for our special election coverage.